Thom Hartmann here on the best of the rest of science and green news. You need to know this. We start at Cape Grim in Australia, where an atmospheric measuring station is picking up atmospheric CO2 levels that are on the verge of breaking 400 ppm parts per million for the first time in human history. And unlike other measuring stations where concentrations fluctuate seasonally, the station at Cape Grim is in a region with stable CO2 concentrations, meaning CO2 levels in that area won't dip below 400 ppm once it crosses that milestone. On May 6th, scientists picked up a CO2 reading at Cape Grim of 399.9 parts per million, meaning that within weeks the reading will be permanently above 400 ppm. This isn't the first station to cross the 400 ppm threshold. The first station to detect CO2 levels above 400 parts per million was the Mauna Loa Observatory back in 2013. CO2 concentrations at the Mauna Loa Observatory fluctuate throughout the year, but soon CO2 concentrations there will be so high that they'll never dip below 400 parts per million either. And last month, the global monthly average using all global readings crossed 400 parts per million, which guarantees that truly dangerous global warming is now inevitable. James Butler, director of the Global Monitoring Division at the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, compared the situation to an electric blanket. He told The Guardian that it's like lying in bed with your electric blanket set to 3, you jack it up to 7, but you don't get hot right away, but you do get hot. And that's what we're doing. And that's the problem. It's difficult to know how much warming exactly we've guaranteed now that we're crossing the 400 parts per million threshold, especially considering that scientists said years ago that to avoid catastrophic warming, we needed to keep carbon concentrations below 350 parts per million. What's clear is that yearly and monthly temperature averages have continued to break records regularly in the last few years. And with atmospheric CO2 concentrations at 400 ppm, that trend will continue for years to come, even if we stopped emitting carbon completely today. The fossil fuel industry has blocked and disputed the science on climate change for so long now that we can guarantee that the oceans will continue to acidify, warm, and lose oxygen. And we can guarantee that storms will get stronger, droughts will get worse, and communities will be devastated. We need to hold the fossil fuel industry accountable for misleading the public for so long and for guaranteeing that a child born today will never know a planet with CO2 concentrations below 400 ppm. And we need to go 100% renewable immediately. According to environmental health experts, microplastics, the curse of beaches, oceans, waterways, and aquatic life everywhere, might also be contaminating the air we breathe. The Guardian is reporting that a research team at King's College in London is looking into this serious issue. Frank Kelly, a researcher and professor of environmental health at King's College, at an evidence session at the House of Commons Environmental Audit Committee in the UK, says, quote, "There is a possibility, a real possibility, that some of those microparticles will be entrained into the air and they will be carried around and we will end up breathing them. This is a horizon scanning issue. But the particles are of a size that they are breathable. They are increasing in number in our environment, and there are questions to be asked," end quote. Marcus Ericsson of the Five Gyres Institute also wrote that huge clouds of microplastics are coming from the 5 subtropical gyres, with an estimated 269,000 tons of plastic from 5.28 trillion plastic particles. Alarmingly, as Ericsson pointed out, about 92% of that plastic is microplastic. Plastics can discharge potentially harmful chemicals that can interfere with human hormones. Kelly also noted that the health repercussions of microplastics are only just now being looked at. According to the USDA, beekeepers have lost 44% of the honeybee colonies in 2015. This week, the Bee and Informed Partnership with the Apiary Inspectors of America and the U.S. Department of Agriculture released their annual report on honeybee losses in the United States. This loss is close to the highest annual loss in the past 6 years and is considered too high to be sustainable for U.S. agriculture and the beekeeping industry. Tiffany Fink-Haynes, Food Futures campaigner with Friends of the Earth, said, quote, "These honeybee losses reinforce what scientists continue to tell us. We must take immediate action to restrict pesticides contributing to bee declines. The longer we wait, the worse the situation becomes. If we do not suspend neonicotinoid pesticides immediately, we risk losing our beekeepers and harming important ecosystem functions upon which our food supply depends, end quote. Many states, cities, universities, businesses, and federal agencies have tried to restrict the use of these pesticides in the face of delays by the U.S. EPA. But these pesticides are still widely used. Bink Haynes has added, the EPA is passing the buck to states, and our regulatory agencies are letting the pesticide industry pull the wool over their eyes instead of seeking solutions. The EPA, USDA, and Congress must all adopt a federal, unified plan that eliminates the use of systematic pesticides to protect bees and beekeepers, end quote. And that's the way it is for the week of May 16th, 2016. I'm Thom Hartmann, the best of the rest of science and green news.